How you guys doing today? If you're watching this video, you subscribe to my channel, you follow the Twitter link from my Twitter account, cburns4vta, or you just searched on Twitter, or you searched on YouTube or on Google, wherever this video came up, for probably Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz that is, or Senator Diane Feinstein, or you searched Ted Cruz versus Diane Feinstein for the little argument I'm going to talk about they had in the Senate. They had their little gun control committee, and they're talking about passing bills and stuff like that, and Feinstein's trying to get her assault weapons, like a little bill attached to the whole big gun legislation the Democrats are trying to get through, which is basically it's all a farce. I mean, none of these laws are going to solve anything or help any of the problems that actually got these guns into the hands of these dudes that commit these evil crimes, these mass murders in Newtown, all these different places. I mean, and that's one other thing too. There's another YouTube video I have from Wild Bill. You gotta watch all these shooters are card carrying Dems. I mean, you got the guy that was the theater shooter in Aurora, Colorado. Worked on the Obama campaign. Look at Chris Dorner, the recent LAPD killer. Killed a bunch of that's LAPD guy, LAPD cop. Had to shoot out with him up in Big Bear. In his letter, he's praising Hillary Clinton and Charlie Sheen. Those are fantastic role models, the two of them. One lets her husband cheat on her and he still lives with him. And it's all good in the hood. And then you get the other one who is a cocaine maniac who goes and runs around with like all kinds of crazy hookers, basically. I mean. No, but hey, I think drugs and hookers should be legal. I'm a libertarian, not necessarily what I want to do with my life, but I think that you have the right to do it if it's your cup of tea. If that's your bag, that's your bag. Hey, carry it around, dude. That's your bag. Do it. But the point is, though, where I'm going with this is Senator Cruz and Diane Feinstein had this very interesting conversation, or he actually has an interesting little lecture for her because she doesn't understand the Constitution. She says to Senator Cruz, it's like she says basically, I respect your beliefs. All I ask is that you respect mine. Here's the problem with that. You can respect Senator Cruz's beliefs. And you can do that because Senator Cruz's beliefs they're in agreement with the Constitution. He thinks that we have the right to own a firearm. And that's true, we do. The Constitution gives us that right. And gives us the right to own any firearm. It says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say with the exception of or, but not if. None of those words or those phrases are in the Constitution. None of them at all. So, and take this into consideration as well. Our founding fathers put the Second Amendment in the Constitution as a doomsday device for us to stop our government, a fail-safe against oppression, you could say, so we could fight back, like they did when they threw out the British. It was a safeguard for us against our liberties being put into jeopardy. Now, that being said, that means that the right to bear a firearm means that it's there so in case we ever have to fight our own government. What's our government have now these days? And I say this because we're talking about assault weapons here, with Diane Feinstein specifically. That our federal government has tanks, F-16s, rocket launchers, bazookas, crazy stuff that we don't even have. I don't want them, okay? I'm not saying that because I might have to fight my government off someday. I should have the right to own an F-16 or a Emily Abrams tank. I don't, or a bazooka. I don't want that right. It's obviously ridiculous. Okay, but if they have that, what's the problem with me having an AR-15? What's the problem with me having an assault rifle, a fully automatic one at that? Hell, if I ever have to fight you guys off, I'm gonna have I'm going to be going against tanks and F-16s. I'm going to have to steal a rocket launcher to shoot a freaking F-16 down if I ever have to fight my own government off because they're trying to take our rights. I mean, so at least give me the automatic assault rifle. You guys got way better stuff, so don't trip. But that's not the point of it. She just doesn't see the point of it at all, ever. She doesn't even think that's a legitimate argument. But it is, in the fact that she can't even say that because the fact that she has the right to sit there and say that was won by men who thought that was a legitimate argument. Which also speaks to the arrogance of these people. You got to think about the collective knowledge that our founding fathers had, all the Enlightenment philosophers they read, from Voltaire to Rousseau. Did society corrupt and people were inherently good? Or did we go and join this contract that his government did together so we could live with each other, in some sort of reasonable manner? I mean, the fact is they read the compilation of all their knowledge from Thomas Jefferson to George Washington to Henry Locke to just like John Hancock. I mean, it's the collective, James Madison, the collective knowledge of all these men put together, the studying for years they did before this, and the knowledge they gained that gave them the ability to create what we have. That they saw this as a legitimate right and saw this as a necessary right. Where they said shall not be infringed, and they used the same terminology the people And they use that in the First, and Second, and Fourth Amendment. That shows how important. When you read their writings that are outside the Constitution, read other things they wrote, it shows that you get a better idea of what they intended it to mean. They didn't mean militia like a lot of these people say, like only the military. No. They meant every citizen. So, I mean, but it's their arrogance, though, that these people think that they know better than our founding fathers. They think that they know better than them. The arrogance that the Democratic Party exhibits, I don't hear the Republicans saying this at all. I think it's a very valid point. That is a great deal of arrogance and disrespect to the very people who gave them the right to sit there and spout their leftist crap ass. That right was given to them by these men, and they're thinking they know better than them. They don't. There is not any one of them who's more scholarly about things about document than the people who wrote it. That's for certain. You can't even argue that. I mean, it's common sense. I like common sense because it's not a fact. You can twist facts. You can do studies and get statistics that say what you want them to say. But you cannot mess with common sense and logic. That's why it's a great thing to argue with, because it just makes sense. And to argue against it is just like people look dumb. It's a great thing to use in front of others. When you're trying to argue with somebody in front of other people, because they realize how stupid they look when you use common sense and logic. You realize how they realize how dumb they are, because you're being so sensible, so common sense, so down to earth, so just like, look at what's around you. Tell me this is not so. And for them to say it's not so, it has to go in defiance of everything that they see around them and everything that everybody's watching them right now has around them too. And everybody then looks at them and goes, wow, this guy is just blind, isn't he, actually? You know? Wait, this guy's right. That's why you use that to argue with. But so that's just the arrogance they have. You know, but on top of that too, here's the thing, is that Feinstein says, Feinstein says respect my right. Like I said, Cruz's right you can respect. Cruz's ideas and beliefs you can respect, because his beliefs you can have, and they're in congruence, they're in agreement with the Constitution. Feinstein's rights are not in agreement with the Constitution. She wants to take a gun, and she wants to pick and choose which ones he can't have. And it's debatable whether or not she thinks you even have the right to own a firearm. So the point I'm making is this, is that she has a belief that if acted out, and if she practiced it, would infringe on your rights, would take away your right to own a firearm. That's the key thing about the First Amendment and freedom, is that we have the right to do whatever we want in this country, as long as it's not putting it in somebody else. It's not making them deal with my shit. It's not infringing on your family and your freedom, and it's not hurting you or hurting your kids. It's not getting up in your business, whether I mean it to or not. It's not indirectly or directly doing that. It's not affecting you. As long as I'm not affecting you, I can do what I want, right? It's a libertarian thing, but I think it's a conservative thing if they were true to the document in which they believe in so much. Is that, that's why I think the libertarians would think, if you want to get a hooker, go get a hooker. I'd rather pay taxes on the thing and pitch into the federal government, for doing the few things it should, like a civil defense and the courts. That's it. But I think that's a good thing. Because I don't know, as long as it's not, like there's not brothels on the street corner by the 7-Eleven, as long as, they're indiscreet, and you can do what you want to do, and I don't have to deal with it, and if I have kids with me, they don't have to see you doing that. Hey, let them do it. Just it's all about responsibility. You want to do drugs? Fine, you can do whatever you want. But you go off and you drive high, and you kill somebody, second-degree murder, like, even though it was an accident, second-degree murder, right off. Make it so that people, they have more freedom, but the responsibility that they have that comes with that freedom is also higher. Because that's what it takes to give people freedom like that, is an increased responsibility, or increasing their responsibility proportionally with the freedom increase. I mean, otherwise, it doesn't work out. Because you give people all the freedom to do whatever they want, but no consequences, we're inherently evil people. We will fuck that off for certain. We will screw that up. There's no question about that. Humankind is not inherently good and strives to do evil. We're evil and striving to do good, but when there's no consequences for us doing the bad thing, a lot of times we get complacent, lazy, or just we don't care. I mean, I've been guilty of that so many times in my life, I don't want to talk about it, but I'm a good bit of a different person now, but it's besides the point. It's the case, it's the way of the world, it's the way things are. So, that's how it sits, right? But so here, the problem with her belief, though, is like I said, for her to practice and then carry it out, it infringes on the Constitution, your rights, and if it is acted out, and it forces on you her shit. And that is the whole part of freedom. You don't like, Republicans have a problem with this. They want to legislate their morality on their people. It's a problem, dude, because you know what? The thing about freedom is we all can do what we want, but that means sometimes the guy next to you doesn't agree with you. Sometimes he wants to bang hookers. You don't agree with that because your God says no. My God says no. I don't believe in it. But hey, you know what? That's his right. And as long as it's not up in your business and in your kid's face, he's got a right to do it. You can't pick and choose where you apply freedom. It's not really freedom. It's some box you've made up that isn't really freedom. And that, is this thing that you're selling yourself as it's basically it's what you're comfortable with. The problem is when you have freedom and the guy next to you doesn't always agree with you, you're not always going to be comfortable with what he thinks, and that's something you have to deal with. And as long as it's not getting up, and you have to deal. As long as you can, you have to just turn away from it and say, you know what? If I turn over here and it doesn't get brought into this vision too, if I don't walk through that door to that brothel, that indiscreet little brothel, unless I walk through that door, I don't see it. It's fine. If you have to walk through that door to see it, know it's there. You may know it's there, but they're not putting it in your face. You don't have a right to say anything about that. You got to leave that person alone. And so that's the problem, is that, the problem with the right, that we want to legislate, well, people on the right, a lot of us want to legislate our morality. I don't, a lot of us do. And then the Feinstein, she asks you to respect her beliefs, but you can't, because her beliefs, when acted out and practiced and carried out, infringe on the Constitution. She needs to realize that when she says that. That's very key. She says that, but it's not. It's a stupid point to make for that very reason. Next thing I heard in this whole little thing, after they go at it for a second, her and Ted Cruz. By the way, she didn't really answer the question at first for Ted Cruz, like whether he's trying to compare it to other amendments where you can pick choose stuff. I mean, it was kind of funny. But either way, after that, Dick Durbin from Illinois goes off, and Dick Durbin's talking about the Keller case, with the Supreme Court, how they ruled that you can put regulations on it. I'm sorry, but our Supreme Court SCOTUS, this really pisses me off. This is a Republican panel of judges at this point in time. It was really a Republican group of judges sitting on the bench. Republican majority. They said it was the Keller case. They said it was okay to put some restrictions on the Second Amendment, like this gun, not that gun. No, that is so wrong. And I can't believe they did that. I will never believe that. It's like, they're morons. Our Supreme Court has really failed us. I mean, look at Obamacare. They upheld that. For the first time, we are forced to buy a product simply because we exist. It's not like, there's certain regulations in certain industries. You get involved in interstate trucking, you're a truck driver. There's regulations to that. And you know that going in, you choose to get involved anyway. So it's kind of like you're making this decision knowing what's entailed. But see, this is something that we don't have a choice like that. We have to be involved in this socialized medicine without doing anything. We automatically, by force, have to be part of it. If that's not constitutionally illegal, I don't know what is. But the thing is, though, is that Dick Durbin says, Dick Durbin's over here, and he says, none of these rights are absolute. He's out with the Constitution and your rights, and he says they're not absolute. I mean, will somebody smack this guy and hit him in the freaking head? Because you know what? Oh, maybe I think your right to free speech is absolute, and you can't say that because I don't like it. Shut up, Senator. No, quiet. Could somebody please remove him from this hearing? No, you can't do that, Durbin. You can't. I can't do that because you know what? Your right is absolute. Your right to freedom of speech is absolute, and you can say that crap what you're saying right now about how our rights are not absolute because they are. In fact, our founding fathers. This goes back to the Magna Carta hundreds of years ago. The Magna Carta, they came in, they made the king sign this thing, saying there's something above you. The king is not the end all, be all of everything. He is not the thing he's not the end of morality, and he determines it for himself. No, there is a God, or there's something above you, a higher power, or maybe even just the rule of law that you are held, constrained, and are obligated to uphold, to yourself and to us, to everybody. I mean, that's the thing. The Magna Carta put that in place, and then that's what our founding fathers did when they put that these rights were given to us by God in the Constitution. Like, there's no other constitution in the whole world, not even the Israelis, who are the closest thing to us constitutionally, democracy-wise, in the world. There's no other document that specifies freedom, the rights of what the government can and can't do, and all that stuff. There's no other document that says these rights are given to man by God. That's important. That's very important, because that's saying that no man, no organization, no government, nothing on this earth gave you those rights, which means nothing here has the right to take them from you. That's a very important point. if the rights that you have are given to you by nothing that is of this earth, then nothing on this earth can take those rights from you. And that is key. That is the key to it. And so, I mean, even if you don't believe in God, you have to respect that. Because that's how the point, you have to at least respect the point our founding fathers were making, even if you're an atheist, saying, that's how serious my rights are. Nothing on this earth can take them. I was born with them. They are, I inherit them by existing. All humankind does. And a lot of liberals will pick that apart and say, well, no, look at our founding fathers, they had slaves. Well, if you read a lot of our founding fathers, they regretted not putting slavery in the Constitution or amendment or anything about that. But, our country is fragile. The beginnings of our revolution, that would be our country, were fragile at that point. Only a third of the country supported the revolution. A third of the country didn't care. A third were, like, British loyalists. And slavery would have been an issue that if they put it in the Constitution, if they made it an issue when the revolution was beginning, it probably would have not had all the support it got, and we may not be here with all this freedom we have. And they regretted. They wrote in their own writings, their own personal writings, like they wrote how they regretted not addressing that issue, because George Washington even said that he knew we would pay that debt we owed to African Americans later on in blood. It wasn't those exact words, but he basically said that we will pay this debt that we owe them for not putting this in there later on in blood. He basically predicted the Civil War. I mean, and then going to slow that sentence, because he knew it was wrong. I mean. So they did think these rights applied to everybody. They realized that but the thing is, though, by them not putting that in there yet, knowing that it has to be dealt with later, but they're not putting it in there now, and putting in there all men are created equal, it was they knew that was the groundwork, that was the foundation for what would come later in civil rights and the Civil War. That was the footing on which the men who propagated that movement would stand. They would stand on that. That line that all men are created equal. These rights given to him by God. That's why they put it there so absolutely, because they knew it would force us to deal with that later on, for one. Plus, they wanted to make clear how these rights were not anybody's to take away. They were ours naturally, inherently. Only we could take them from ourselves by putting ourselves in prison by killing people, shit like that. I mean, they're ours. Unless you do something morally heinous where you have to be held in confinement, they're yours. No man can take them from you otherwise. No man has the right, I should say, because man can't take them from you. It's been done throughout history. It's wrong, but nobody has the right to. They're yours. And that's pretty cool. I think. But Dick Durbin, read the Constitution. Our rights are absolute. Our rights, especially those original amendments our founding fathers put in there, you read them and how powerful they are worded, it's obvious that this is a timeless document. It's a living, breathing thing that applies to every age the same, and is not to be contradicted, is not to be messed with, not to be taken and misconstrued. It is what it is, and it will always be what it is, and that is just that. Period. You can't take things and say, well, later on I agree with this. I mean, especially when it's something like that, as important as that, the foundation of our country. I mean, it's like taking the Bible and taking pieces out and say, well, I don't agree with this part. I want the freedom of speech, but I want this. I don't want that. The thing is, though, then it's not really freedom anymore. It's not this thing that the great thing they created that has to be all be there to work together. Because they all prop each other up. All those rights, they prop each other up. They do. And the thing is, it's like I had a great analogy. I was going for how I was going with that. But the point is, though, is that you have to. It's like I'm gonna say. It's like God. It's like take a God, take the Bible. You pick and choose like what parts of the Bible you want to believe. Well, it's not God anymore, then, is it? It's something that you've created by taking what you're comfortable with. Now, God is this like the thing that fits in the box, that the pre-existing box in your head that you're comfortable with Him fitting in. Because the thing is, God doesn't fit in the box, though, right? If He's really God, He is what He is, and you can't pick and choose what parts of Him you do and don't like, because He don't care whether you like it or not. He's the Almighty. Same thing with the Bill of Rights. Same thing with the Constitution. You can't pick and choose the documents in it, especially those founding ones, those original ones. You can't say, oh, this doesn't apply anymore. No. We need more scholarly reading of the Constitution, basically. We need to read it more thoroughly. We need to understand it more and better. And we need to be more... Well, the thing is, a lot of people, they lack the background. They've only read... The only thing that they've read of George Washington's, let's say, is the Constitution. Like, they've read that he wrote it. They don't even know what parts of he wrote. You gotta read these men in their separate, their personal writings before and after the revolution in their life, because there was a lot of them wrote after that happened, about America, and some of them wrote before the dream of America. And you read what they had in their heads when they created this, and you see a lot of all of a sudden you understand what they intended when they worded things a certain way. And Feinstein, you do need to lecture on the Constitution. You do need a thorough lecture on the Constitution, because you know what? You lack a basic understanding of it. You lack a basic understanding of it in such a way that I find it reprehensible that you're a senator. I really do. I find it kind of actually it's sad. It's really sad, and it speaks to how just I'm here in California where you represent, how ignorant this state is. I mean, it's another thing too. Ben Carson said the other day at the National Prayer Breakfast when he basically called Obama out so politely in front of him, but called him out on everything and just checked him right there. So it was obvious how wrong he is in that moment. It's too bad. A lot of the media didn't cover that. But our founding fathers said, this form of government requires a well-educated populace. Thumbs up on the freaking liberals and completely owning the whole an education system and dumbing our kids down. Because why we are where we are. Thumbs up to you. I mean, it seems like coincidence. I mean, you make our kids stupider by having unions that control schools, and so there's no standards teachers can be held to, because we can't fire them or anything like that. We can't. You get the school unions. They fight the unions. They fight charter schools to the death, so they don't have any competition. If they had competition, you could take your dollar somewhere else. Believe me, every freaking parent in America would be going somewhere else. Because you look at New Orleans, after the levees all broke and they had all the public schools were toast, they let charter schools open up just so the kids could keep learning. And guess what? Kids are doing great. And now you see them out there. Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana, he's trying to fight to keep these charter schools open because the liberals, the freaking teachers' unions, are trying to shut that shit down. Why? Because it scares them. Because it's competition. And competition they can't keep up with because they forgot how to teach. So that's the thing. We have to have an educated populace for this government to work. And it seems like academia has just dumbed us down thoroughly. Very thoroughly. Thank God not me. Say ignorance is bliss. I don't think so. So, they've created out, and like you say, you could say it's just coincidence, But, it's very coincidental that, for their agenda to work requires an educated populace. Our founding fathers even wrote on that. Ben Carson pointed it out. And I'm telling you right now, that they said it too back hundreds of years ago, that we need an educated populace. And that's what we don't have anymore. Local news stories run like a minute, less than that usually. They're about something like how O'Reilly put it, like a donkey in the parkway, and they can't get him off. That's a news story. It's like, what? Or kittens at a local homeless shelter need adoption. No national news in the local news anymore. And we're just sitting there going, you're pretty kid. Watching the video in the news about you go to the pet shelter adopt a kid. It's stupid. We've let it happen to ourselves, really, honestly, we have. Because we've been, but the thing is, like I said, I want to say it's coincidence because I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but it's funny how what the liberals need to have their system work is uneducated people, and all the teachers are lazy dipshits who don't educate our children properly. Coincidence, maybe. I don't believe in coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. There is no coincidence in this world. I sincerely doubt there ever will be coincidence in this world. Because it's like the thing is, things happen. They happen for a reason. It's not just like, oh, holy shit, everybody's stupid now, and our government doesn't work. Coincidence? Maybe. But really? So all in all, props to Ted Cruz, for being a constitutional scholar. I haven't been to college, I haven't been to law school or anything like that, but I think, I'm obviously more of a constitutional scholar just about any Democratic senator out there, even including the majority fucking leader fucking the Senate, Harry Reid. You are an idiot in the Constitution. Harry Reid. So, thanks for watching the video. I know this is a little long-winded, but I hope I gave you some good arguments when you battle leftists. I hope I gave you some good, cogent points that you can use against people. I hope I pointed some things out to you about the Constitution that you may not have realized. I hope that, you do look at this in a different light now, and I hope that you call your Democratic senators, say don't support this bill. Call your Republican senators, say fight harder. Thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter. cburns4 VTA. cburns is in CBURNS, and then the number 4 letters again now, VTA at live.com. That's you can look me up on Twitter that way, or just the cburns4 VTA is my handle on Twitter. Chuck Burns, the YouTube channel, subscribe. And thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate the time. How you like the new backdrop, right? Before I had the light, but that light back there, everything people told me was distracting. People need to focus on me and my message more, because I'm more watching me, and it's glares on the screen, this light's behind me, and I'm like a shadow right here. It's like evil, like Darth Vader or something. But so, got the new background now. Tea Party flag, American flags.